Your credit card bill comes in, $1,840. You have the money. You pay it in full, right on the due date. Not a day late, not a dollar short. You even screenshot the confirmation. Done. Responsible adult. 3 days later, your credit monitoring app buzzes. You're down 31 points. You didn't miss a payment. You didn't open a new card. You didn't do anything wrong, according to every piece of advice you've ever read about credit, and the score still dropped. Like you did something shameful, like you borrowed money and ran. That moment, that buzz, is where most people spiral. They start questioning everything. Maybe the system is broken. Maybe credit scores are a scam. Maybe it doesn't matter. None of those answers are right. The actual answer is worse. You paid on exactly the right day to guarantee a bad outcome. You played the game perfectly by the wrong rulebook. Here's the belief that's running most people's credit into the ground, and it sounds completely reasonable on the surface. The due date is the date that matters. That's what every bank tells you. Pay by the due date. Avoid the fee. Avoid the interest. Simple. And if avoiding fees and interest is the goal, yeah, they're telling the truth. But that's not all the due date controls. And banks have absolutely zero incentive to explain the difference. Most people assume the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, are watching their account like a live feed. You pay off $1,840 on the 22nd, and by the 23rd, the bureau sees you at zero. Clean, responsible, score intact. That's not what happens. Not even close. Say your credit limit is $5,000. You've been spending all month, groceries, a car repair, a couple of dinners out. By the end of the billing cycle, you're carrying $1,840. That number, $1,840 on a $5,000 limit, is 36.8% utilization. The algorithm sees that as a mild warning sign, a little over the line, and when you pay it off 2 weeks later, on the due date, the bureau doesn't update the snapshot. The snapshot was already taken. You just paid off a balance that the credit report already recorded. The damage is already cataloged. The 31-point drop happened the moment the billing cycle closed, before you ever touched your wallet. Here's the part no one draws a diagram of. Your credit card has two completely separate dates every month. The statement closing date, sometimes called the cycle close date, and the payment due date. These are not the same thing, and they do not serve the same function. Think of it like a newspaper. Every month on the closing date, the bank prints the newspaper. Freeze frame. Whatever your balance is at that exact moment, that number goes into the paper. That paper gets faxed to Experian and the other two bureaus. Done. Hard-coded into your report for that month. Now, the due date, that's just when you have to pay the bill you already received. It comes about 21 to 25 days after the closing date. Most people pay on the due date, like it says, which means by the time they pay, their newspaper, their credit report, has already been printed with the high balance visible. So the sequence actually looks like this. Spending happens all month. Cycle closes on, say, the 28th. Bank takes a snapshot of whatever you owe. Let's say $1,840. That $1,840 gets transmitted to the bureaus within a few days. Score adjusts. Then, 3 weeks later, you pay the bill. You pay every single cent. You owe nothing. But the bureaus don't issue a correction for what was already reported. They just wait for next month's newspaper. You've been living in real time. Your credit score has been living on a 30-day delay, based on a photograph taken before you paid anything. The gap between those two dates, the closing date and the due date, is where responsible people get quietly penalized every single month, without ever understanding why. The bank designed the system this way, not to punish you specifically, but because it benefits them to report your peak balance. Higher reported utilization makes you look riskier. Riskier borrowers get offered worse terms. Worse terms make the bank more money. They're not lying to you. They're just not volunteering the part that costs them. This is Finance Pulse. The mission here is simple. Understand how the systems actually function, not how they're marketed to work. Banks, lenders, and scoring algorithms are not neutral tools. They're built with incentives, and those incentives rarely point in your direction. Now let's fix it. The move is called the pre-close pay, and it doesn't require a single extra dollar from you, just a different calendar. Instead of waiting for the bill, you pay before the bill is printed. Specifically, you want to pay down your balance 3 to 4 days before the statement closing date. That buffer matters. Bank transfers can take a day to post, and you don't want to be off by 24 hours. Here's what it looks like in practice. Your closing date is the 28th. On the 24th or 25th, you log in. You look at your current balance, let's say it's sitting at $1,840 again, and you manually send a payment of $1,820. You leave $20 on the card. Not zero, but close. Then on the 28th, the statement generates. The bank looks at your balance. It sees $20. That $20 goes to the bureaus. Your utilization on a $5,000 card just went from 36.8% to 0.4%. You went from being flagged to being near invisible. Then on the actual due date, you pay that $20. No interest, no fees, nothing carried over. Your spending hasn't changed. Your cash flow hasn't changed. You moved one payment by about 2 weeks, and instead of 36.8% utilization showing up on your credit report, the bureaus see 0.4%. The algorithm reads that as someone who barely touches their available credit. That's the profile of an 800 score borrower. Not because you have more money, because you controlled when the snapshot was taken. The scoring models reward low utilization disproportionately. Under 30% is okay. Under 10% is good. Under 5% is where scores in the high 700s and 800s tend to live. You can manufacture that number on demand. First trap, and this one catches almost everyone, they set their balance to exactly zero before the statement closes. Feels perfect, feels responsible, it's slightly wrong. Consistently reporting a $0 balance on all your cards tells the algorithm something confusing. It sees a borrower who has credit, but apparently never uses it. The FICO model is designed to score how you manage debt, not whether you avoid it entirely. A person who reports zero utilization month after month looks like a ghost, and the algorithm doesn't love ghosts. You want to show activity, small, controlled activity. Leave $10 or $15 on one card when the statement closes. Not because you owe it, because you want the model to see engagement. The sweet spot is roughly 1% to 5% reported utilization, not 0%. Second trap, credit cycling. This is where some people take the pre-close pay too far. Your card has a $2,000 limit. You spend $2,000, pay it off in week 2. Spend another $1,800, pay it off before closing, and repeat. You think you're being disciplined. The bank's fraud team thinks you're laundering money or prepping for a bust out. Credit cycling, running through your limit multiple times in a single billing period, is a red flag that triggers automated account reviews. Some issuers will freeze your card without warning. Others will close it and send you a letter. The bank gave you a $2,000 limit because that's the exposure they're comfortable with per month. If you're forcing $5,000 of transaction volume through a $2,000 pipe, you've broken the deal they thought they made with you. If you genuinely need more room, call and ask for a limit increase. Don't cycle. Third trap, closing old cards to simplify your wallet. This one feels like decluttering. It is not. Utilization is calculated 2 ways, per individual card and across all cards combined. Close a $10,000 limit card with a 0 balance, and you just remove $10,000 from your denominator without removing a single dollar from your numerator. Your utilization ratio spikes instantly, and your score drops a few days later, seemingly out of nowhere. Old cards, even the ones you never touch, are doing structural work in the background. Put a $12 streaming subscription on them. Set it to autopay. Forget about it. The limit stays active. The utilization stays low. the score stays protected. Here's what actually running the system looks like. Find your statement closing date, not the due date, the closing date. It's usually buried in the Statements tab of your card's app or website. Pull up a past PDF bill and look for billing cycle ends or closing date. Put it in your phone as a recurring monthly reminder. Set 3 to 4 days early. When that reminder fires, open the app. Check your current balance. Decide what you want reported. Something in the 1% to 5% range of your limit is the target. If your limit is $5,000, you want to close with somewhere between $20 and $250 on the card, not zero. Manually pay the difference right then. Don't rely on autopay for this step. Autopay is built to prevent late payments, not optimize utilization. Turn it off for the pre-close payment and use it only for the cleanup. The small remaining balance that you pay off by the due date to avoid any interest. If you're preparing for a mortgage application, a car loan, or anything where your score is going to be pulled in the next 60 days, run this protocol on every card you own for 2 full cycles before the application. 2 months of low reported utilization will show up clearly. 1 cycle might get partially eaten by timing. If there's no loan coming, stop micromanaging. Just keep your regular balance under 10% naturally and let the system work. The pre-close pay is a precision tool for when the stakes are high, not a monthly obligation. Pick one card, just one. Find the closing date this week. Pay it down to almost nothing before that date closes. Then watch your monitoring app, Credit Karma, Experian, whatever you're using, over the following 2 to 3 weeks. When you see the number move, come back and drop the point change in the comments. Actual numbers, what your utilization was, what it became, how many points shifted. That data helps everyone watching this later. And if you know someone who pays their bill on time every month and still can't figure out why their score won't move, send them this. That's exactly who this is for.